as he's walking, everything was, it was a normal road. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the road starts to become rocky and uneven. After a while, it stops. Then he goes a little more, and then all of a sudden, there's tons of sand. And he started to cry. And he davened to Hashem, and he said, Hashem, please allow me to fulfill the mission that my Rebbe has given to me. Good luck, everybody.
This is
Together. This is a Hakel event. Thank you very much. Okay, this story is quite the exciting one, and it also shows the importance of not messing around with another person's parnasa, another person's livelihood. So let's get into it. So there was a delegation from a certain town that came to the Baal Shem Tov and asked the Baal Shem Tov to send either one of his talmidim or one of the the people who were his mukaravim, to send this guy to their town as a rav, someone that they should have a rav in their town. So Baal Shem Tov wanted to help them, so he figured it out who it should be, and he sends this guy as a rav for them, and he became the rav. And he was a very good rav. He was involved in all the things, especially in the aspect of tzedakah. He made sure that there were tzedakah, that all the institutions of tzedakah, that all the money went to where they had to go, and it ran smoothly, and there were fundraisers. Everything was set up very good. And there was one guy over there, a person who was Yirei Shamayim, who would sit and learn all day. And because he would sit and learn, how would he make his parnasa? There was a person who was in charge of fundraising for him. He would obviously get a commission, like any shliach mitzvah does. And he would go around, and people would they would give their whatever it was, a certain amount monthly, so he could live. Fine. So now the Rav didn't like this. Why? Because what happened was, when people would go around to collect for the klal, for the community, some people would say, listen, I can't give because I already gave to this individual. So the Rav figured that because he's a yachid, he's an individual, and what's more important, whenever you have a conflict between an individual and the community and the majority, so the individual has to compromise. So he started to influence the people that maybe they shouldn't give to him, they should give to the klal because that's more important, until people started giving less and less to this individual. And the fundraiser himself saw that he wasn't even getting enough to support himself. He stopped collecting, and it affected this person's parnasa. And in the heavens, in the heavenly court, it made a big tumult. This wasn't a simple thing. And there was also something else that was problematic, that they found that was problematic in Shamayim. What was that? That there happened to be a din Torah not too long, after he became Rav, and he was in charge of, being, he was in charge of giving the halacha, giving the verdict, and there was about one person who could have been affecting another person's livelihood. Masik vul, meaning I don't know if he opened up a business near him or whatever it was, he was encroaching the other person's business. And the Rav wasn't so diligent about taking care of it, and his psak din wasn't so good. And so again, another example of someone who was losing his livelihood because of this Rav's decision. So in Shemayim, they asked the Satan if he's afraid of the Baal Shem Tov.
what?
Because this person is connected to the Baal Shem Tov. So they asked Satan, "You're afraid of the Baal Shem Tov?" So he says, "Yeah, I'm afraid of the Baal Shem Tov." I love this story.
So Pasha, the Satan is scared of the Baal Shem.
That's what I love about the story. The Satan's scared. He's scared. He doesn't want to go near. So in Shemayim they say, "Listen, we're going to give you this guy. He's 100% in your rishus. Don't be scared of the Baal Shem Tov, because now."
Why did they ask him then?
I think it was like, I guess they were reassuring the Satan, "Don't worry, you're not gonna be in trouble with the Baal Shem Tov." So the Satan was very, very happy that they gave over full permission for him to mess with this Rav as he wants, and the Baal Shem Tov can't do anything about it. And he decides he's going to do something which is even more bitter than death. He's going to put a juke in his head, make him go nuts, and decide to give up his faith. Tishmad. So now the Rav, he had the way he would do things on Shabbos. On Shabbos morning was he would daven b'yechidus in his house until Kriyas Torah. He would go to shul for Kriyas Torah. Here the Kriya, daven Musaf with the minyan, and then he would go back home, and people would accompany him home, and he would have a lot of mashke for everybody to make l'chaim on. He himself would make kiddush on wine and drink very little wine. He wouldn't drink anything too heavy. He wouldn't want to get drunk or tipsy. He had to be, he's a Rav. He has to be fully in control and aware. And the Shabbos morning after the Satan was given control, he already has his talis and all his b'dei Shabbos, and all of a sudden he gets this burning desire to just shmat. So he takes a swig of mashke, a humongous swig, right? And he just runs with all his clothes, his talis, kapatas, everything. He runs to the outskirts of the town where the Galach lives, yeah. And the Galach sees the Rav walking in. He's like, "What's this?" He says, "I'm here to shmad." He says, "What are you talking about? You're here to shmad?" He said, "That's it." So the Galach is like, he caught such a big fish. The Rav of the town. Imagine how it's going to influence everything. He says, "Listen, right now I have guests. Stay over here." We gave him a room. I guess it was his private home. Stay here, and after I'm done, I'll come to you. And he told his servant to put some food and some mashke in front of him. So he's there and he's waiting. He takes another swig of mashke, and he's so not used to alcohol. He never drinks. So he throws up all over himself and he falls asleep on the floor. And he's asleep for a few hours. He wakes up, and the Galach still didn't finish his business. It's still in the middle of Shabbos. He takes another swig of mashke, falls asleep again until it got dark outside. And now, meanwhile, the people in the shul, they don't know what happened. The people in the community, they don't know what happened to their Rav, because they don't see him in shul. They came to his house. He's not there, and they do some investigation and they hear that their Rav went to give up his faith, and they're pashat, they're sitting shiva. Our Rav, our holy Rav, he went and did this. And it was very, very, very sad moment for the community. Now the Baal Shem Tov, during Shal Shudas, he had a minhag to look and see where all of his Talmidim are holding. And when he looks into this individual Rav, he sees a darkness and impurity and unholiness, klipa. And he goes and he's in the middle of saying Bnei Chala, and he gets to the words of Levatala Kol Klipa, to nullify all the klipas, all the impurity, all the evil forces, and he starts to go into the higher chambers in Shemayim, whatever that means. And he goes from one chamber to the next, trying to figure out what's going on with this particular Rav. And he can't figure it out until he gets to a very important and high chamber, and over there they tell him what happened. I forgot a very important detail of the story. The Baal Shem Tov, when he found out what happened to his Talmud, he started saying a lot of things about him to Lamed Tzos. He said, "What do you mean? How could you give him? How can you put him in such a situation?" The Baal Shem Tov is telling Shemayim. He's saying in the court of heaven, how can you allow this to happen? We have to be able to save him because he's look at how great he is. All and just listing a bunch of good things about him, and nothing flew. Nothing was considered meritorious enough to redeem him. But then the Baal Shem Tov said he's very careful about Melava Malka. And Shemayim said, he's careful about Melava Malka. That talk is a big thing. Shows the importance of Melava Malka, what we're doing over here. And they said, however, only if he tastes from Melava Malka tonight can he be saved. Otherwise, he's lost forever. And right away, while he's at the table, in the middle of Shal Shudas, he turns to one of his Talmidim. He takes a piece of the challah he made hametzi on, and he also takes a full loaf of bread it says in the story, from his 12 loaves of bread. I don't know what that means. The Baal Shem Tov had 12 loaves of bread.
base Mikdash had 12 loaves of bread, no?
Al Pi Kabbalah, when you make a Maitzi on Shabbos,
Mm-hmm.
you're supposed to have 12 loaves of bread.
Oh, okay.
Not-
Al Pi
you're not-
Kabbalah, you're supposed to have 12
You're
loaves of
not
bread.
supposed to have only 2, you're supposed to have 12. We fulfill this by having 2 6 braids, parenthetically.
Ah, okay. So that's a fun fact. That's very, very, very okay. Very nice.
Every day.
So anyway, so he gives
Reason
him.
behind it. They have a reason for it? Or?
Yeah, it corresponds to the 12 showbread.
Oh, that's what I thought. For base
Lechem
Mikdash.
upanim, okay.
Yeah,
So he gives a slice of bread and a loaf of bread to his Talmud and says, "Take and go." He didn't tell him anything else. Now the Talmud knows the Baal Shem tells him to go. He has bitachon, he has emunah, and he's in his Rebbe, and he starts to go. And as he's walking, everything was it was a normal road, but all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the road starts to become rocky and uneven, full of small pebbles, and it's very hard to walk like that. And he realizes that if his Rebbe sent him on a mission, it means that the Satan's trying to stop him. And he keeps on going, and after a while it stops. And then he goes a little more, and then all of a sudden there's tons of sand. And it's very, very hard to walk on the sand. It's hard to walk on the sand. He has to walk over, high mounds of sand.
The tests of Aaron.
Yeah, it sounds exactly like that, right? And he realizes my son, he keeps on going, and something similar happens to him a third time. And the story that I read, it just said it happened to him again. So either one of these things happened again, or something similar happened to him again, and he started to cry. And he davened to Hashem, and he said, "Hashem, please allow me to fulfill the mission that my Rebbe has given to me." He was, and everything vanishes, and not only did the road become smooth again, but he felt that he was moving at a faster pace than is physically possible. He had kvitzas haderech. And he finds himself in a town and he sees a light in a house and he decides he's going to go inside for a second. And this was the Galach's house.
Next.
And what does he see?
No.
He sees a yid over there, with a hadras panim, everything. He has a beard and he has a kapata, big day Shabbos. He's lying full of, he has vomit on his clothing. It looks like he's, drunk. And he asks, there happened to be someone watching, a guard over there, and he asks the guard, what's going on? So he says, oh, this guy is Rav of the town. He came to Shmad, and he realizes right away that the Baal Shem Tov sent him for this reason. And so he wakes him up, and he tells him, he waits for this Rav to wake up. Now the Rav wakes up, and he sees that it's dark outside, and the Gach still doesn't come. What does he do? What's the first thing he reaches for?
Booze.
He reaches for the booze. So this guy quickly, the chassid of the Talmud of Baal Shem Tov who was sent, grabs him and holds him back and says, "Wait, first wash your hands." And he listens to him, to wash his hands. And he came back down, sat down, and he was about to take a swig of booze, and he says, "No, eat some bread, eat this bread." And he was about to bite into the bread. He said, "Bake a bracha." He made a bracha. He ate the bread, and right away the holy food from Baal Shem Tov started to have an effect on him, and he realized where he is and what he's doing. He said, "Oh, what did I do? I just was about to trade my soul for what?" And he's sad and he's crying, and he's very, very bitter about what he did. And this Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov sees how embittered he is, and he believes that Hashem is going to help him. And he, based on everything that happened to this chassid, based on everything that happened to this chassid, to Talmud of Baal Shem Tov until now, the fact that he had all these tests and that he had kfitzas haderech, he had these miracles happen to him, he knew that they would get helped. And he tells this Rav, "Listen, now that you want to come back, Hashem is for sure going to help us. We have to do our part." And because what happened? Sorry, I skipped something. The Rav said the only way I can fix what I've done is if I go to the Baal Shem Tov, but he's so far away. How am I going to get to him? And he was very broken. So the chassid, who had experienced all these miracles, said, "Listen, we have to do our part." He says, "Grab me by the gartel and we're going to go." And he takes him out of the house, and they start walking. And in no time, they find themselves at the outskirts of Mezhebush. They walk into the Baal Shem Tov, and right away he cries to the Baal Shem Tov and says, "Rebbe, help me, what did I do?" And the Rebbe gave him a tikkun, the Rebbe gave him, told him what he had to do to fix himself, and he did full tshuva, and we should we should merit to do the tshuva like it says. Kibu v'kibla Yehudim. It's about to be Purim, so and we should experience the ultimate tshuva of returning to our Father
Oh,
in heaven, in Yerushalayim, Bir HaKodesh, with the Beis HaMikdash built. Agotvach, everybody. Please smash the like button. Please subscribe. Please consider being a patron on
smash it
Patreon.
until your screen breaks.
Please don't.
Then it's not free.
This is a Hakel event. Thank you very much. God bless all of you. Mwah.
And now for some bloopers.
Guys, I forgot a very. Oh, Mendy's here. Now the story will be complete.
Mendy say hi.
I forgot a very.
Wait, Hakel event.
Smash, like
Like and
knock
smash,
yourself
okay?
out. Okay.
Just
You
say
don't
you're
have
not
to
legally
be
responsible for
You're
any
not
actions
legally
they take from your
responsible.
words. Make
Which is
sure to
actually what-
disclaim
Which is actually
that you're
pretty
not
standard.
legally responsible for their actions from your words.
You need to. You
You have to.
No one's.
You
Okay.
said break your head.
Do not harm yourself.
Don't do this at home.
It's not smart.
Jake.
You not harm yourself nor your own property.
Okay. Okay.
No animals were harmed in the making of
Johnny,
this
say
video.
hello.
Nor your own property.
Okay. Azay.
Why not?
I don't know. I have to ask him.
He's gonna come back in years later and say I didn't consent to it.
Yes, I know, right? Okay, I forgot a very important part of the story,
Hashtag
which is
into.
why I got so excited about the story to begin with, is because we're Melava Malka. The whole story was the whole redeeming. The Baal Shem Tov, when he found out what happened, when the Baal Shem Tov asked...
You know you're moving too much and it's blurring, right?
Okay, when the Baal Shem Tov asked...
You do close up. Back up. What are you doing, man?
No, I'm just.
You have to know how to focus.
Guys, can you like...
talking about
10-second
focusing.
attention span.
There we go.
Sorry,
There we go.
Sorry, can you start from the beginning of the story, please?
Oh, wait, I'm not holding this for the entire story.
It's not the whole story. He's making it a whole story.
Me? This is the quietest one.
All your fault. All your fault.
This is the outtakes and edits.
You literally have to wait like a half hour, and you'll have yourself bloopers.
No, my goal is that when he does editing and cuts the dust, it should be like 30-second increments.
Cuts the
I mean,
dust.
The outtakes and edits and
Have to
bloopers.
have every 30 seconds he has to cut it again.
Can you please stop?
Me, I'm sitting
That's so
here.
just cool. He didn't hear the story. You're Pasha taking away time from me, which translates to street money. How about
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, and that is the story.
Double D.
Wow, Yossi, you're flexing right now.
Now Jewish stereotypes. What's
Hold on.
What's up?
You know
What's
what?
up? Listen, I'm gonna say one more thing and I'll let you
Become
go.
a
Okay, ready?
patron on Patreon to make it come true.
Okay, I'm gonna say one more thing and I'm gonna let you go. I was watching the Gem video tonight,
Okay.
and this guy comes from the New York Times. He wants to do an editorial on the Rebbe because it's the Rebbe's 70th birthday, so he wants to do a big spread. So he comes to the Rebbe, and this is Purim February in whatever.
82?
I don't know exactly what it was. The Rebbe still had a semi black beard.
Yeah, it was on the test.
And he comes to the Rebbe, the Rebbe gives him a l'chaim and a bottle, and he says, I'd like to do an interview. And the Rebbe says, my chassidim. He says, yeah, them too, but I would really like to meet with you. It won't be an official, he's like selling the Rebbe. It won't be an official interview, it'll just be, I'd like to meet with you. I'm a base. He says, I just want to meet with you. And the Rebbe says, okay, whatever, don't forget the chassidim. And the guy says, okay, so is it possible? The Rebbe looks at him, he's like, speak to my secretary. Such a like deal double G moment. He's like, don't bother me. Speak to my secretary.
Alright, now Yossi, your turn.
Now your turn, Yossi, to finish the
Okay,
story
so
that you were about to
funny.
finish a long time ago.
So basically.
Wait, interruption!
Yeah.
Okay. So
Blooper reel.
like this.
This just in.
That's when the Baal Shem Tov
Was it Melava
went
Malka?
ahead. That's a very good question. Yeah. Okay.
What happens when you buy a sourdough? You don't have your 6 grades.
That's why you should not buy sourdough.
That's why you should buy 6 of them.
Buy 12 sourdoughs.
12 sourdoughs.
It's all like $300.
No, you freeze them from week to week.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
because you have doesn't mean you have to eat them.
Right.
that's true. That's true. So very good.
No. What you do is you get the 2 6 braids, so you're Yotzi the Indian, and then you cut up sourdough.
Right.
But then you end up having
There it is, guys. You heard it here first. Okay.
And you keep those 2 6 braids. You're
Remember
putting
starting-
them back in the
starting
freezer.
back
No,
Six
you,
braids?
you'd have to cut one of the 6 braids each week because like you need to eat
You're
from
right,
one
yeah.
of the mochis.
Well, I know you just cut from the highlights. Use the sour.
Alternatively, you could just buy 10 rolls and 2 main challahs.
Yeah.